Alright guys, get ready for one heck of a show today. Hey, this is Larry in here with you. And guys, tonight we're going to be talking about the paranormal, ghost, and Bigfoot. Hey guys, we have a heck of a show tonight, so hang in here with us. Welcome to Tinfoil and Tequila. It's party time.
Grab your glass.
All right.
Lean in close.
We have a great
We
show
laugh, we
tonight.
dig,
Welcome
we
to Tinfoil and
chase
Tequila.
the
This is the paranormal, ghost, and Bigfoot. Hey, what's really out there?
Welcome to
Hey, we got a
Tinfoil
great
and Tequila, where the
so
wild
much
ideas
to
hit the floor.
We've got some good stuff to do.
We crack the joke, then crack the code, and pour a little truth, then pour some more.
You're in for a treat tonight. So let's go ahead and get
If the story sounds too strange,
thank you
that's
all so
when we
much for tuning in to tonight's show. And
grab your
we're going to
glass.
get this party started, y'all. Bear with me. Technical difficulties.
Grab your glass, lean in close. We laugh, we dig, we chase the ghost. Welcome to Tinfoil and Tequila, where the wild ideas hit the floor. We crack the joke, then crack the code, and pour a little truth, then pour some more. If the story sounds too strange, that's when we turn up the flame. Tinfoil and Tequila, Tinfoil and Tequila, where happy hour meets the rabbit hole. Tinfoil and Tequila, Tinfoil and Tequila, come on in, let the chaos roll. No suit, no script, no boring line, just big laughs and a twist the line. Tinfoil and Tequila. Where happy hour meets the rabbit hole.
All right, guys. Welcome to Tinfoil and Tequila. I'm Larry. I'm your host in here tonight. I have no co-host tonight. Jennifer is on vacation. Our special guest was supposed to be Michael tonight, Michael Bullock. He was unable to make it. Please keep him in your prayers tonight. He is in the hospital. He has MS, unfortunately, and he's having to deal with that. So please keep Michael in your prayers tonight, guys. And he's going to try to make it back in 2 weeks. So next week, we will have another special guest in here with us, Jerry Ash from Dalton. And he's going to be in here with us next week as we're going to be talking about the GATE program and the TAG program. So it'll be a great show. But anyways, welcome. So thousands of people claim that they've seen ghosts. Thousands more swear that they've encountered Bigfoot. Some say that they've heard voices in empty buildings. Others claim that they've been followed through the woods by something they couldn't identify. Are all these people mistaken? Are they lying? Or are they experiencing something that science hasn't fully explained? Tonight, we're going to be stepping into the shadows and exploring the world of the paranormal, ghost, and Bigfoot. So welcome. All right. Welcome to Tinfoil and Tequila. Like I said, grab your favorite drink, settle in, prepare to question what you think you know. Tonight, we're going to be discussing some of the oldest mysteries known to mankind: ghosts, spirits, paranormal activity, and the legendary creature known as Bigfoot. Let's dive in and remember, question everything. All right, so since the beginning of human history, people have reported encounters with things that they couldn't explain. Some of these stories consist of spirits, apparitions, monsters, strange creatures, haunted locations, unexplained sounds, mysterious lights that exist in nearly every culture on Earth. The question isn't whether people report these experiences, the question is why. So we're going to go in and talk about a couple of things. You might be asking the question, what is a ghost? Like, what's the most common definition for a ghost? Like, what is that? Well, the most common definition is a spirit or consciousness that's believed to exist after physical death. Reported experiences include seeing apparitions, hearing voices, or some paranormal investigators say disembodied voices, cold spots, objects moving, strange smells, also known as phantom smells, and electrical disturbances. So you might also now be asking, what is Bigfoot? Well, Bigfoot's described as about 7 to 10 foot tall, covered in massive hair. He's human like, or she's human like. We don't know if it's he or she. And they walk upright like a human. Sightings have been reported throughout North America for centuries. Some Native American traditions include stories remarkably similar to modern Bigfoot reports. So you're asking, why does this all matter? So whether these stories are true or not, millions of people claim firsthand experiences. That alone makes this subject worth discussing. So that's what we're going to be discussing on tonight's show. So I want to tell you guys about my personal experience. So I've had a few experiences, and I actually was a professional paranormal investigator for 8.5 years down in Florida. So my team that I had, I was the founder. My team was called RIP Inc., like Rest in Peace Inc., but it actually stood for Research Investigators of the Paranormal Incorporated. And we were actually registered, a registered business, nonprofit organization with Florida corporations. We were a nonprofit organization, and we traveled the whole state of Florida doing paranormal investigations. Did that for 8.5 years. I've been all the way down into the Everglades and all the way up into Tallahassee and the Panhandle, Panama City, and all that. So we went all over. Most of our cases were in Central Florida, where we were located at. Um, but we help businesses. We'd have businesses call us. We'd have individuals, residents call us. And sometimes we just go and find a haunted location to do an investigation at, and check it out ourselves, whether we were invited or not. So just to try to get as much evidence as we can. And tonight I'll be showing you a photo from one of those locations that we visited, which is actually a very active cemetery that was down in Florida. Now, this cemetery is called Old Fort White Cemetery, and we had one of my investigators had went there, and he was like, "Hey, I keep getting these pictures of these British soldiers dressed in red in this cemetery," and I'm like, "Well, that's bizarre," and I'm like, "Isn't that like Confederate, like Union, like Civil War area?" He's like, "Yeah, but there's British soldiers there." I'm like, "That's bizarre." I'm like, "How can that be?" But he was getting pictures of these apparitions of British soldiers. So he took me and a few of our other investigators to the cemetery. And the picture I'm going to show you, there are two people that are in the photo, and so one of those people was one of my team psychics, my team sensitives, and she had said, "Hey, I'm getting an impression of a man riding a horse. Snap some pictures." So I just started taking random photos, Um, and when I was taking these random photos, I ended up actually capturing an apparition in this photo. But like I said, there's two people pictured. There's Kevin, he was one of my investigators, and there's Gwen. She was one of my psychic and sensitives on the team. But let me go ahead and share my screen with you guys so you guys can see this. So I'm going to go ahead and transition over to my desktop. So you guys should now be able to see that picture um, on your screens there if you guys are viewing the live broadcast. So I'm going to zoom into it. One thing you'll notice here is this orb that appears in the middle of the photo here. This is commonly referred to as an orb or some form of energy. And this was actually correlated with an apparition that actually appeared in this picture too. So this we believe is some kind of form of a spirit, but there's also another spirit here too, and I'm going to zoom in on that so you can see it better. And he's going to be right over here behind this tree, and you can probably see him right here. But I'm going to zoom in so you can get a better look on your screens. Okay, so as we zoom in on this picture here, all right, you can see that there's a person back over here behind the tree, right? So up here, he's got a navy blue hat on. This is the side profile of his face. Here's his arm coming down here, and his hand coming out the bottom of his jacket sleeve down here. And then he's got navy blue pants on down here. All right. Now, if you look, you can see he's off in the brush. This log right here was was the trail marker. Okay. So this side of the trail down here was where you would walk, the walking path. So he was off in the brush. Looks like probably about 5 to 6 foot off in the brush over here. But you can see, I mean, he looks like he's maybe about 6 foot tall or so, maybe. But you can clearly tell it's a person. I mean, you can see the navy blue color right here in his hat, and I'll zoom in really as far as I can. Well, that's as far as I can zoom in right there. But you can tell he's got a navy blue hat on here, and his peach colored face, his hand coming out of his jacket sleeve. He's got a navy blue outfit on, and his pants. You can see the navy blue pants right here. But that is a apparition of a Union soldier in this Confederate cemetery. And you're probably asking, why is there a Union soldier in a Confederate cemetery? But the question is simple, because my if these Confederates were buried here, this Union soldier could have been patrolling the grounds to make sure that the Confederates didn't come back and dig up the bodies or something, you know. So it's, you know, or he could just be a apparition that was just, you know, strolling through the area, because this was old Civil War battlegrounds that was out here. And this was taken around 9 o'clock at night. You can still see it's daylight. You can see the light through the trees. But this was that old Fort White Cemetery. This is around the Gainesville, Florida area. And so if you guys ever want to check this place out, it's down an old beaten path, down a dirt road, and it's kind of hidden out in the woods. But it's a very, very active cemetery if you're ever down in Florida. But anyways, I want to share that picture with you so you guys can see, you know, what an apparition looks like, what a ghost looks like. You know, usually when most people see them, they are not complete. So like you see Kevin and Gwen here, you know, you're not, very rarely are you going to see an apparition like this. This is how you're going to usually see an apparition. They're going to be some hiding behind something. There's going to be something blocking the view. Maybe they didn't materialize all the way when they materialized. But it's very interesting, to say the least, of how they can interact with us in our realm that we live in. So it's interesting how the physical realm that we live in can interact with the spiritual realm. And that's one thing that we've been studying as paranormal investigators over the years, is that how do these realms interact with one another? How do they come about? That's the question that everybody's trying to answer. And, there are hundreds and hundreds of paranormal organizations out there, across the globe, not just here in North America, not just in Florida, not just in Georgia, but there's paranormal organizations everywhere. And if you guys are encountering any kind of paranormal activity in your home or place of business or whatever, don't hesitate to reach out to a paranormal organization. Okay, it's free. It's 100% free. Um, if an investigator is trying to charge you to do an investigation, then don't do it, because a true paranormal organization is going to do it at no cost to you. All right, they're going to help you. They're going to try to find out what's going on and try to help get you answers. Okay, all for free, and that's just what investigators do. And there's teams all over the place. I'm here in Georgia. There's teams all over the place here in North Georgia. I've been invited by those other teams here in North Georgia to join them. I've had to politely decline just because of work schedule and just other life commitments and family and the whole nine yards. So, but anyways, with I want to show you guys another picture that I got as well. This other picture I'm going to show you was actually from a investigation that we did. So this particular picture was just a random picture that we were taking through the house that I took with my camera. This was in the kitchen area of the home. You can see the windows are not trimmed out. They've got a ladder here. They're doing work. The windows are dirty, and stuff. Looks like there's like cobwebs and stuff on the windows here. But anyways, this house was being rebuilt, renovated, I guess. The original house that was here burned down on 9/9 of 99, which was very weird date of all nines to burn down. And this was supposed to be the new house that was built in the same place where the old house was. Now, this family had been encountering a bunch of paranormal activity in their house with lights coming on and off, disembodied voices, footsteps, shadow people, just an array of different types of paranormal activity, energy, electrical disturbances, and things like that. So this house was full of energy, full of paranormal energy. Now, in this picture here, you'll also see that there's a balcony outside out here. We were told we weren't allowed on that balcony out there. They told us not to go out there because supposedly the balcony was rotten and we weren't allowed out there. Had to fix it or whatever, so we didn't go out there. But what you're going to notice in this picture is this blue glow in this window right here, in this window pane where you see my mouse cursor at. Okay. So in this window pane, I'm going to zoom in on it. You're going to see the face in the window. Can y'all see that face in the window right there? So here's an eye right here. Here's an eye. Here's a nose and the nostril and the nose. And this is the mouth right here. They're open, mouth's open like they're screaming or trying to say something. And looks like they got some kind of hat on, some kind of headdress or hat on right here. And a lot of people have tried to debunk this and just say, hey, it's because the window's dirty and it was just a reflection of light in the window. But I beg to differ. This is a very distinct face in the window. And I'm going to blow it up here some more for you so you can see it. I mean, you can clearly tell it's like a slanted eye here. You got a slanted eye over here. Here's the nostril and the nose right here. And then here's the mouth right here. You can see the lips. You can even see the teeth in their mouth right here. And then, this is like the chin right here. Okay, their neck and their chin right here. But yeah, I'll zoom back out so you can see the original picture. So that was the original picture right there that was taken. But yeah, and then the face again. But some people, like I said, have tried to debunk this and trying to say, "Oh, the window's dirty. There's cobwebs and bugs on the window and whatever." But there's no mistaking that that is definitely a face in the window. And had a friend of mine, one of my investigators, he had a friend that was a retired FBI photo analyst, and he looked at the picture and he's like, that face looks like it's about 4 to 5 foot on the other side of the window. But if you look, there's the corner of the balcony right there. There's no body to it. It's just like a materialized face and neck, and looks like, maybe part of an upper torso area that was trying to materialize here. And you can almost see it a little bit of blue color right here in the window as well, in this bottom pane right here, very faintly. But yeah, it was definitely bizarre. It was pretty cool though, that we got that. But there was we had a lot of experiences at this house. There was uh, a lot of different types of energy, from mist to light ribbons, all kinds of stuff that we got. We got the faces, we heard footsteps, voices. We had lights turning on and off, lights changing sequence on us. Which had like little pull cords. So you pull the cord once, it lights up the top of the light. You pull it a second time, it lights up the bottom of the light. A third time, lights up both the top and bottom light. And then the fourth pull turns the light off completely. So, anyways, that was in the upstairs bathroom, and there was like four of these lights across the top, and we'd set them all to the same sequence. So we'd have them all like the top lights on. Then we'd leave, go downstairs, and come back upstairs, and the lights would be all in different sequence. So you'd have a top light on, a bottom light off or on, and then you'd have a light off, and then you might have both the lights on the other light. They'd just be in different sequences, and every time we could reproduce it every single time. And so we'd even sit there and we're like, okay, well, let's set them all again. Let's do all the bottom lights now, and then let's leave, and we'll come back, and they're all changed, and they're all different. So we're like, okay, well, maybe there's like some kind of short in the light, so let's just hang out for a little bit. So we set the lights to a certain sequence, have them like all on, and we just sit there, and nothing would happen. But as soon as we turn our backs and we leave out of the room, out of the bathroom, and come back, the lights would be in different sequence. So there's definitely an intelligent spirit there that was wanted to play games and wanted to interact with us, and the family, because the family is the one that originally reported that to us. But we did encounter demonic activity at this property during our second investigation. We did two investigations here. This house was in Floral City, Florida, and there was a large piece of wood that was on the front porch, and the homeowner never told us anything about it. And one of my investigators said, "Hey, Larry, there's a large piece of wood on the front porch, and it looks like there's like a mask carved out of it. Kind of like how the mask from Jim Carrey. They got the wood mask that got carved out of wood. Whatever. So, and it was magical mask. So there was this mask that was carved out of this wood, and I'm like, okay, well, where's the mask at? I'm like, here's the tree stump where it got carved out of, but where's the mask? I'm like, that's pretty weird. And so I'm like, and why is it sitting on these people's front porch? And so I asked the daughter about it, who originally called me because this was her parents' house. And the daughter was like, yeah, that tree stump came from the Amazon rainforest. And I was like, what? Like the Amazon rainforest. I'm like, why would they have this? Oh, no, they just thought it was cool and they found it when they were out hunting in the Amazon rainforest. I was like, wait a minute, what were they hunting for in the Amazon rainforest? Well, during our second investigation, when we were there, we had anything that's out in the open, that the client leaves out, whether it's photos, documents, whatever, it's free game for us to look at. Okay. It's considered public information. They invited us into the house. We're there to conduct an investigation to find out why there's paranormal activity going on. And so we're using everything available to us, which includes, pictures that might be on the wall, any kind of decorations, so we're looking at everything in the house. Okay. We've got free game. And if it's something that was supposed to be private or whatever put away, then it should have been put away, you know. But, anyways, there was a desk downstairs in the basement area, on the ground floor by the pool. And there were a bunch of documents on the desk down there. And when I got to looking at them, and me and one of my investigators, we found out they were contracts, and they were contracts for exotic animals. And when I say exotic animals, I'm talking about like lions, tigers, monkeys, different things like that, like exotic animals that you're going to be able to get from the rainforest area, or, the desert or something, and you'd have to import them. So, anyways, we're like, okay, well, that's pretty bizarre. Like, what kind of business do these people have? So I got to questioning the daughter about it, and that's when she informed me that her parents were exotic animal buyers, and she proceeded to tell me that they buy these exotic animals so that they can use them for sacrificing. And I'm like, that's really bizarre, and that's very satanic and demonic. Well, during our second investigation, when we were down there in that basement looking at those documents, we were taking pictures around the room. And every time that we took pictures at the windows, we saw like four, like actually, it was four red eyes, like basically as if it was like two different demons or whatever, like looking through the window at us. And so we're like, okay, well, that's pretty creepy. And not only did I get them on several pictures that I got, and I can't find them to share them with you, but or else I'd be sharing those with you as well. But I got these like red dots, these red eyes, like looking in the windows. And then one of my other investigators also got the same several times on his camera. And we're like, okay, like I'm just getting an uneasy feeling about this place. And there was only three of us on that second investigation. The first investigation, I think there was like 10 of us there, but it was a little bit more creepier because we had less people and there was less energy draw, from all of us investigators being there. But that was a really good investigation. But that second investigation that we did get a little creeped out. We actually went outside to investigate the barn area because they had some activity out at the barn. So we went out there to look at the barn, and we had set up motion detectors in the house. And we're like, hey, we're going to set up a motion detector on the top floor, one on the middle floor, and then one on the bottom floor. And we're going to put them at the stairwells, and the landings there. So if something is moving through the house, walking up and down the stairs, whatever, it's going to set them off. So we walked out to the barn, did a little investigation, maybe for a half hour, 45 minutes, whatever, coming back to the house. And we got maybe about, I'd say about 50 foot or so from the house. And all of a sudden, all three of our motion sensors went off in the house, and we could hear them from outside. And it started on the top floor, and then to the middle floor, and then a few seconds later on the bottom floor, like something was running down the steps. And so we immediately ran inside, and one of my investigators, he had his gun, and we thought maybe somebody was in the house. And he pulled out his gun, and we went running inside, just, charging inside with flashlights blaring and, everything. And there was nothing there. There was no one there. And our motion sensors were triggered, were tripped, and but we don't know how. We didn't see anything, but there was definitely something there that set off the motion sensors. But that was really good, really cool. But it was very frightening because the energy that we were getting was very demonic and satanic, and it was starting to make us a little ill feeling. And we were like, hey, it's time to go. Like, we don't want to get possessed by nothing, and I think it's safer that we just go ahead and wrap up and leave before something bad happens. So we did, and we determined that the paranormal activity that was going on at this place here was because of what the family did, because of their sacrifices, their animal sacrifices they did on the property. They did do rituals and stuff on the property, and they were satanic worshipers, to say the least. But the daughter didn't inform us that up front, which would have been crucial to know up front. But we did find that out during our investigation of this particular residence that we did. But anyways, yeah. So let's go ahead and get back. I'm going to switch gears here and get back to the screen. I do have one other paranormal story to share with you, and then we'll get into talking about Bigfoot a little bit. And I've got some good stuff to talk about and show you, or not show you, but talk about tonight on the show. But one of the stories I want to share with you was another personal experience that I had, where I actually talked to my deceased grandfather. So this actually happened on Easter Sunday of 2010 at sunrise. Okay. And we all know that on Easter Sunday at sunrise is when Jesus rose from the tomb, right? He was resurrected, right? And I thought that was like so bizarre that my grandfather that passed away when I was 5 years old was resurrected on Easter Sunday of 2010, and he woke me up at sunrise. Now, the story I'm getting ready to tell you and the events that happened, okay, were in real life, okay? So I was actually, it was Easter Sunday, it was sunrise, roughly probably about 6 a.m. in the morning or so, and I heard a knock on the door. There was three knocks, knock on the door. And it kind of woke me up, and I sat up in bed and kind of looked around the room, and I'm like, did I just hear a knock on the door? I'm like, no. So I went ahead and laid back down and getting ready to doze off. And when I heard a knock again, knock on the door, I'm like, what? Like, there's somebody knocking on the door. Like, that's our door. Like, and we lived in an apartment at the time. And so, anyways, I sat up in bed and I was like, hello, who's there? And the door to the apartment was right next to the bedroom window right there. So, if somebody walked up, you could see them through the bedroom window, and you could also hear them walk up. Now, I didn't see anybody walk up, and I didn't hear anybody walk up. I just heard a knock on the door. And when I was like, hey, who's there? The second time, um, the guy voice came back, and he's like, hey, it's me, Mike. And I'm like, Mike. And I was waiting on the maintenance guys to come by to fix something in the apartment. And it didn't even dawn on me. Like, I totally forgot that it was like Easter Sunday. And I'm like, well, they're obviously not going to be working on Easter or on a Sunday. They'll be back Monday, and they'll come by Monday to fix it. But it just didn't click with me because I've just woken up right out of a sleep, right? But what I'm going to tell you, this story, okay, the only thing that was different between real life and this, I'm going to say a trance-like state that I was in, was in real life. I had this little CD player, and it was actually on the top shelf in the closet up there. But in this trance, that CD player was on the floor between the closet and the bed, and my grandfather was using that to communicate with me through that radio, but it didn't have any batteries, and it wasn't plugged into the wall. It was just sitting on the floor, and he was using it as a communication tool. So, like I said, my grandfather died when I was 5 years old. So he tried to hang in for a little bit to wait for my sister to be born, and he passed away 2 weeks before she was born. So, anyways, I hear this knock on the door, knock, 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 And he's like, "Hey, it's me, Mike." And I'm like, Mike who?" And he's like, "It's Papa Mike." I'm like, "Papa Mike." I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, hold on a minute." I said, "Don't talk to things in your sleep." Like I felt like I was sleepy. I'm like, my paranormal investigator instincts kicked in. I'm like, "Hey, you need to identify yourself." I'm not sitting here talking to no demon or nothing. And he's like, "Okay, well, what do you want to know?" And I said, "Okay, what's one thing that you and I used to do when I was little?" And he said, "Oreo cookies and milk." And I said, "That's right, that's right." And that's how I knew it was my papa, because that was our thing, was Oreo cookies and milk. And I used to do that all the time, sit there and dunk some Oreos and drink some milk with him. But anyways, he got to talking to me, and he's like, I said, "Wow." I said, "How you been, Papa?" And he's like, "Oh, I've been good." He says, "I've been by to see your boys." He says, "You got some beautiful boys." He says, "I've been by to see your sister. She's absolutely gorgeous." And he says, "I've been by to see her kids." He says, "She's got some good looking kids." And he says, he said, "I got to tell you," he said, "I can't stay long." He says, "I just wanted to come by and say hi and visit with you for a minute." And I said, "Oh, well, thank you so much." I said, "I miss you, Papa." And, we just had a very short conversation that maybe lasted about a minute or two. And then he said, I want you to get a message to the family. He says, "To my kids." He says, "Can you tell them that I miss them and I love them very much?" And I said, "Absolutely." I said, "I'll do that for you, Papa." And he said, "Okay, well, I got to go now." He says, "Nice seeing you, and I love you and I miss you." And I said, "I love you and miss you too, Papa." And then that was it. And he was gone. It was very, very short lived. And, but it was something I'll never forget. And I had to go and talk to all of my aunts and uncles that were his kids and tell them that message. And it was very difficult to do because, I didn't want them to think that I was crazy or something. They're like, "You're a whack job. Like, how are you talking to Papa? Like, he's been dead since you were 5 years old. Like, you hardly even know Papa." And, I'm like, "Well, yeah, Papa came to me because he knew that he could talk to me because I was a paranormal investigator. He knew what I did, and he knew that I would feel comfortable talking to him and having a conversation with him. But if he tried to do it with anybody else, that he'd startle them and he'd scare them. And he knew that I would be comfortable with it and I would do what he asked me to do, that anybody else would have been scared and they wouldn't have talked about it. They wouldn't have mentioned it to anybody. But he knew that I would be the messenger and I would spread the message for him. And I did. And it was hard to do because, each one of the my aunts and uncles that I spoke to, they broke down and they started crying. And I get it because they miss them. But it was great to be able to be that messenger, to be able to spread that message and get that message to them. And I feel like that's why, one of the reasons why I've been put here on earth, is to be a messenger and to spread the truth and to spread joy and peace and love and whatever, to everybody. And that's what I try to do, in everything, just try to um, be friendly to people, and just try to be the best that I can be. But it was a really cool story. I mean, really cool opportunity to be able to do that. But I want to go ahead, and we're going to switch gears here, and I want to start talking a little bit about Bigfoot, right? So Bigfoot's been this like controversial creature for so long. And Bigfoot's also been referred to as Sasquatch. So if you haven't heard of Bigfoot, you probably heard of Sasquatch. If you haven't heard of Sasquatch or Bigfoot, you may have heard of Yeti, right? They're all the same kind of creature, all right? They're all these hairy creatures, large, hairy, mythical, humanoid creature, all right? But Bigfoot has been seen pretty much all over the world, with most of the encounters being in North America. Why North America? I have no idea, but he's also been not only seen a lot in the United States, but in Canada, as well. But there's been a lot of talks about Bigfoot over the last several years that I've been hearing. And a lot of people believe that Bigfoot is some sort of alien type creature that can actually kind of cloak itself, I guess you can say. So when it feels threatened, that it has specialized, I guess, like technology as the best way to describe it, and they can actually make themselves invisible and disappear out of sight. And there's been a lot of videos that I've seen over the years too, where that has been true. That people were tracking a Bigfoot with thermal imaging cameras, and all of a sudden it's like the Bigfoot just kind of like fades out. Like it just they see it on the camera, it's behind a tree, they're tracking it, they're starting to get close to it, and they got the heat signature there, and all of a sudden the heat signature goes from hot to cold and disappears. And I'm like, that's really bizarre. And but one thing that's always been intriguing to me, and a lot of people, I'm not even sure are even asking this question, is why haven't we found any dead Bigfoots? Like, that's been a burning question that I've had personally for so long, is if Bigfoot was real, how come no one has found any dead Bigfoots? Like, do they just like disappear into the ether, or I mean, just I mean, that's been a really intriguing question per se. But anyways, I'm going to read to you a little bit about Bigfoot here, and kind of some little bit of history about it. So Sasquatch, we're going to start with Sasquatch. So in 1929, Indian agent and teacher J.W. Burns, who lived and worked with the Stalize Nation, then called the Chehalis First Nation, published a collection of stories titled Introducing BC's Hairy Giants, a collection of strange tales about British Columbia's wild men as told by those who say they have seen him, in Maclean's magazine. So these stories offered various anecdotal reports of wild people including an encounter a tribal member had with a hairy wild woman who could speak the language of the Douglas First Nation. Burns coined the term Sasquatch, believed to be angelicized version of Saskets, roughly translating to hairy man, in the Halquemilim language. Maybe I shouldn't be reading this because I can't even pronounce half these words. I guess that's where tonight's comedy comes in, right? Is listen to me pronounce these crazy words. But Burns describes the Sasquatch as a tribe of hairy people who they claim have always lived in the mountains, in tunnels and caves. And then Bigfoot in 1958, Jerry Crew, bulldozer operator for a logging company in Humboldt County, California, discovered a set of large 16-inch human-like footprints sunk deep in the mud in the Six Rivers National Forest. Upon informing his coworkers, many claimed to have seen similar tracks on previous job sites, as well as telling of odd incidents, such as an oil drum weighing 450 pounds having been moved without explanation. The logging company men soon began using the word Bigfoot to describe the apparent culprit. Crew and others initially believed someone was playing a prank on them. After observing more of these massive footprints, he contacted reporter Andrew Genzoli of the Humboldt Times newspaper. Genzoli interviewed lumber workers and wrote articles about the mysterious footprints, introducing the name Bigfoot in relation to the tracks and the locals' tales of large, hairy, wild men. A plaster cast was made of the footprints, and the crew appeared holding one of the casts on the front page of the newspaper on October 6th of 1958. The story spread rapidly as Genzoli began to receive correspondence from major media outlets, including the New York Times and the LA Times. As a result, the term Bigfoot became widespread as a reference to the apparently large unknown creature leaving massive footprints in Northern California. And in 2002, the family of Jerry's crew, deceased coworker Ray Wallace, revealed a collection of large carved wooden feet stored in his basement. They stated that Wallace had been secretly making the footprints and was responsible for the tracks discovered by the crew. Similarly, some have theorized that most photographs of oversized footprints in the wild could have been hoaxes created by carved wooden feet. Wallace was inspired by another hoaxer, Rant Mullins, who revealed information about his hoaxes in 1982. In the 1930s in Toledo, Washington, Mullins and a group of other foresters carved pairs of large feet made of wood and used them to create footprints in the mud to scare huckleberry pickers in the Gifford Pennock, Pennock National Forest. I guess. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Says the group would also claim to be responsible for hoaxing the alleged Canyon incident in 1924. Mullins and the group of foresters began referring to themselves as the St. Helens Apes, and would later have a cave dedicated to them. Wallace, also from Toledo, knew Mullins and stated he'd collaborated with him to obtain a pair of the large wooden feet and subsequently used them to create footprints on the 1958 construction site as a means to scare away potential thieves. So, there's been some other talks about this, and there's some regional and other names for Bigfoot depending on where you're at. So in Alabama, they call Bigfoot White Thing. In Alaska, it's Nantinak. Arizona is the Mongolian Monster, which is very interesting. And then Arkansas is the Folk, Fouke Monster. In Delaware, it's the Selbyville Swamp Monster. In Florida, it's the Skunk Ape. Georgia, it's the Elkins Creek Beast. Illinois is Big Muddy Monster. Kentucky is Hillbilly Beast. That's a good one. Louisiana is a Honey Island Swamp Monster. Michigan is Dewey Lake Monster. Mississippi is the Chautauqua Monster. Missouri is Momo the Monster. New York is Monster of Whitehall. Ohio is Grassman and also Minerva Monster. Virginia is Wood Booger. And West Virginia is Old Men of the Mountain. The term wood ape is also used by some as means to deviate from the perceived mythical connotation surrounding the name Bigfoot. Others also call Bushman, Tree Man, and Wild Man. But you guys want to read more about that, you guys can also check out Wikipedia. There's a great article on Wikipedia about Bigfoot on there. You get a lot of information. There's some pictures and things like that on there. Now, also, if you guys are in the North Georgia area, there is a Bigfoot museum that's located in Blue Ridge, Georgia. It's actually in Cherry Log. It's between Blue Ridge and LJ in the Cherry Log area. It's a little bit closer to Blue Ridge, though. But you guys check out the Bigfoot Museum out there, and they've got some stuff in there. I think it's cost like $8 a person, or it was the last time I was there. It was like $8 a person to get in there or something like that. But you guys can check out that. And I think they were supposed to be opening up another museum down in Florida, down in like the Everglades area for the Florida skunk ape, which was by the same people that have the Blue Ridge museum as well. So, but anyways, guys, we are almost at the end of our show here tonight. Man, I can't believe that we've just been flying through here with all these great stories tonight, and just talking about Bigfoot and ghost and showed you guys some cool pictures. Um, so I mean, there's been um, a lot that we've gone through here this evening, and a lot of information that we've covered. But I wish I had a special guest tonight, guys, but I'm sorry our special guest couldn't make it, but that's quite okay. Hey, we will definitely, we've got him in our thoughts and prayers. We're sorry you couldn't make it tonight, Michael. We hope you're listening to us tonight. We look forward to having you here in a couple of weeks. Jennifer, I think she'll be back here in another week or two. She's out on family vacation. So maybe we'll have Jennifer back here with us soon. And then we've also got Jerry Ash that'll be here with us next week. And Jerry is famous for being the dancing sign guy in Dalton, Georgia. So if you guys are ever in the Dalton, Georgia area, make sure that you go down the Dalton bypass, um, and you're over there by trying to. I think it's Dalton bypass and Fleming Street. And Jerry dances on the corner with a sign for, I believe it's Mattress Connection, if I'm not mistaken, and he's a sign advertiser out there for them. And Jerry puts on a great show, and everybody knows him. He waves at you. He shows his legs. He blows kisses. He does it all. Everybody loves Jerry. But yeah. So if you're ever in the Dalton area, make sure that you go by and you see Jerry out there. And sometimes he's down at the corner of the Dalton bypass and Glenwood Avenue as well. So sometimes he's down at the other corner there as well. But boy, I tell you, Jerry works that corner. That's why I said, Jerry, I said, man, all you're missing is just strapping a mattress on your back now. But yeah, so anyways, guys, well, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this show here tonight, guys, and we don't have any questions from the audience. I didn't receive anything from anybody. I was hoping to get some questions emailed or something in um, for tonight, but I just don't have anything at all. But that's quite okay. But if you guys do have any questions for next week's show. Next week is going to be about the GATE program and the TAG program. So if you guys were a victim of that program in school, you guys were experimented on, make sure to drop some comments on our Facebook page, or in one of our shows, like on this show. You can comment on it on Rumble or Facebook, or wherever you find our show at, and we'll get notified of your comment. And we'd love to hear your story about the GATE or TAG program if you were in that. And what GATE was the Gifted and Talented Education Program. TAG, it was basically the same thing. It was just a different name for the program. But the program was in schools, and it's basically TAG was talented and gifted. GATE was gifted and talented education, and it was basically kids were being pulled out of school. I'm not out of school, out of class, and they would be taken to rooms unknown to their parents that this was happening, and they would have psychological experiments done on them to test their pretty much testing their psychic abilities, and to see how good they were and how intuitive they were. But yeah, we're going to be talking about that all next week. I mean, not all next week, but on our show next week on Thursday. So make sure to tune in and listen to that, guys. It's going to be a great topic. And if you want to learn more about it, I highly recommend going on TikTok. If you're not on TikTok already, go ahead and set up a free TikTok account and go on there and search GATE on there, GATE, just like it sounds, GATE. Just put in GATE program or TAG program on there, and go on there and listen to the videos and stuff that are on there. There's tons and tons of people all over the world that have been a part of this program and that have distinct memories from being in this program in elementary school mostly. Not so much middle school, but this happened in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, and some even say that it's still happening today. And what's very strange about that is that I do a little search. I just type in gate program in Google, and Google AI pops up this. This is very disturbing. It says the GATE program, Gifted and Talented Education Program, is a specialized public school curriculum designed to challenge and support students who demonstrate exceptional intellectual ability, creativity, leadership, or specific academic talent. It offers an enriched, faster paced learning environment tailored to advanced learners. It says in your area, it says the broader Murray County and Georgia public school systems, GATE programs are highly regulated by the state. And it says eligibility students are evaluated based on 4 pillars set by the Georgia Department of Education: their mental ability, their achievement, their creativity, and their motivation. And then what it does is it tells me that the program is also referred to as the Excel program as well. It told me that last night when I did a search, but it is not coming up in the AI results today. But when I did a search yesterday, it told me that the program is now known as Excel. So if you guys want to know if your kid is in the Excel program, make sure to ask your school about it, because parents are not educated about this. Parents aren't being told that their kids are being experimented on by the government. And this is a program that the CIA does. So these are CIA operatives that go in and test the children and stuff. So make sure to find out if your child if they're in public school. Find out if they're in the GATE program or the TAG program or the Excel program in school. And I believe the school does have to tell you if they're in that program or not. But many parents didn't know. Like my parents had no idea that I was in the GATE program in school. But I remember distinctly being pulled out of the class and going with this person that claimed they were like a doctor. And I'd have to listen to these tapes and do all this testing and look at different flashcards and it happened many times. I mean, I can't tell you how many times because I honestly don't know, but it was a lot. It was all the time. And I thought it was just, I thought, hey, I'm doing so good in school, I'm a fast learner, whatever. And they just, see that in me and I'm just being pulled out for this. But yeah, it's very interesting when you get, but we'll be talking about it next week. So make sure to tune in to our show next week. Tinfoil and Tequila. We are on a lot of different social media. So we are on Spotify. So our show on Spotify and YouTube are syndicated. So I upload those shows manually over there. So they're usually done within 24 hours of the recording here. But if you want to listen to us live on Thursdays, you can listen to us live on Rumble, on Twitch, and Facebook Live. And I'm not sure how much longer Facebook is going to allow us to live stream, but that's quite okay. We still got Twitch and Rumble, and I know Rumble's not going to shut us down. Twitch might and Facebook might, but we'll always be on Rumble. So that's the best place to check us out is on Rumble. Make sure to go on each one of those platforms, guys, and like us on there. Please like and subscribe on each of the platforms for us. And that just helps boost our show on there, helps get our show out to other people, lets other people know that we're out here. And also, if you could please share our show link with everybody, all of our channels, also our webpage. Our webpage is tinfoilandtequila.com. You guys can check us out there. And other than that, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. And I want to give a big shout out to sponsors tonight. So sponsors are going to be, um, oh my goodness gracious. So our sponsors are True Patriot Technologies. Visit them online at truepatriottech.us. Learn for Less. Visit Learn for Less online for all your training needs at l4llms.com. And you can also check out Wilder and Smith for all of your on-demand letter services at wilderandsmith.com. All right. Well, guys, that is it for me for tonight. I want to take a moment also to thank all of our listeners for listening tonight, wherever you're listening from. And you guys, like I said, can check us out on Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, wherever you like to listen at. But other than that, thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. I am Larry, your host, and this is Tinfoil and Tequila. And check us out next week for the Gate and Tag program discussions and our special guest, Jerry Ash. Thank you all so much for listening. Y'all have a wonderful night. I love you all, and God bless.